Carolina basketball, we're playing around with the name, secondary break, four corners. It's a working process. We're going to get back to the title. But I am Graham Bunn, former D1 point guard, played in Europe for a little bit. Got my brother-in-law and one of my favorite humans on the planet, Mr. Zach Talitsky, joining me. Carolina alum, all-around basketball genius, one of the greatest basketball minds of our generation. And, yeah, Carolina rolls. Again, it was not pretty. Carolina takes on Boston College today, advances to 15-3, 7-0 in conference, standing alone. We can get into kind of what went on in the conference after we kind of recap and talk about the game today. It's been a crazy day in the ACC, and I'm just glad that, again, we're not a part of the crazy conversation of like, hey, did you see this win? Did you see so-and-so lose at home? Winning on the road, winning in the ACC, winning in conference is not an easy thing. And so today's win, in my opinion, and you and I can discuss it, was not pretty, but a win's a win. And I feel like there is a lot of silver linings that come out of today's game. How you feeling about it? What are your thoughts? How you feeling? Welcome to the show. And again, if you guys are just finding us, thanks for so much. Thanks for hanging out. Tell some friends, come hang with us. This is just something that we do because we love Carolina basketball. We're not making much money despite Zach's courtside seats last game. Trust me.
Yeah, I think this game was maybe more about us than them. Yeah, and
agreed. Well, definitely if you're wearing a Carolina jersey, Boston College fans are probably like, no, we got up for it.
I mean, I feel like it's not exactly a rival. You know, it's a cold day in Boston.
Of course,
who's going to bring the energy?
Sure.
And you know, when you have refereeing like we had today too, like I think it's very hard to get in a flow. And
yeah,
I think it's hard to defend too, you know, because all those touch fouls, like I would imagine, and you can comment on this as a player, but when people are calling, you know, all those touch fouls, like, you know, how do you focus in and really bring the intensity on the defensive end? Because you're just worried, you know, they're going to keep sending them to the line.
Yeah, so I think they were double bonus for like the last 9 minutes of the second half. Double bonus.
Yeah.
I think they were in bonus for like the last 14 minutes of the game.
You know, and I don't really love referee talk. It's easier to talk about when you win because then it doesn't sound like spilt milk or something. But
sure,
they were bad on both sides. It's not like it was just against us. I think both teams had to overcome the refereeing today. But I think all of that makes it hard. It was interesting. I looked up the line this morning, prepping for the game, and the line was 7.5, and I was shocked. I'm not a sports gambler, but I almost created an account to put money on that line. But I think that tells you that even, you know, Vegas was anticipating us maybe being a bit sluggish, that it might be, you know, tougher than, you know, what the records would indicate. And that's really how it played out, you know, is just a bit of a grinded out game. But I thought that our poise, particularly down the stretch, we've continued to play this way on the road where, you know, in the last 4 or 5 minutes in relatively tight games, we valued every possession. You know, I think we've out executed them, even though, you know, we're the road team. So great to get a road win, despite, you know, kind of how the game played out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of us, I know that you do not enjoy going back and listening to our shows and episodes. I try to do it just like film session because I really enjoy this and I want to be good at it. And I hope anyone that takes the time to listen, they enjoy it too. But one of us said that we were going to be favored by 7. I don't know who it was, but one of us said we'd be favored by 7 at Boston College a couple weeks ago. I'm just saying, just put it out there.
Well, as predictions go, I think we had another bet on this game. We had an over/under on Cormac's made
I was not going to bring it up because I don't want people thinking I hate Cormac Ryan. I love Cormac Ryan. And today there's some things that I want to talk about a little bit later about my affinity and love for Cormac Ryan grew today, even though I won our bet.
Yes. So I'm 0 for 2. You're up $2. We'll have to think of a bet for the next game so we can go double or nothing again. Hopefully by the end of the season, I won't owe you $1,000, but the way it's going, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, man, I hope you do. But the Christmas gift that you got me is buying you a lot of leeway. I think I might just keep betting you. If I keep winning, I'll just keep betting you until you win. Then we get back to even just because that Christmas gift was so good, which I will break out Duke week. All right, let's talk about Cormac Ryan. Let's start with the negatives. He goes 0 for 4 from 3, and the shooting, it's not, I don't want to say it's a shooting slump. I don't know. Just the inconsistency from 3 continues from him today. He does find a way to contribute. I thought he was a big factor in us winning. I feel like he provides a mental toughness that the team really needs in tough games on the road. I thought it showed through today. I love him. I loved his game today. I love that when it got chippy, he didn't fade. He stood tall. And again, he's got a lot of experience. He's played in a lot of arenas. He's played in a lot of games. So I would imagine that, nothing's going to really phase him. I would imagine he's seen all of it. But we're going to need him. Boston College, I'm not knocking Boston College. Very capable team. Definitely very capable at home. Like you said, it's a Saturday conference game. I played in college. Those games you get up for, you enjoy them. You sleep in your own bed the night before. You have your own walkthrough. Your routine is not interrupted. There's a reason it's hard to win on the road. But we go and we play some of these games in March, and we play some of these games, hopefully, Elite Eight, Final Four, early April. I don't know if we survive 0 for 4 for him. I think we need more consistency from Carmack Ryan from behind the 3-point arc.
We definitely do. I don't think it seems to affect the rest of his game, which is great to see. He doesn't seem to get
mental
down on
toughness.
himself. Yeah, he
mental
seems
toughness. Mm-hmm.
I watched a great video. It was Billy Donovan talking about when you shoot, it makes up maybe 10 to 15 seconds of your 30 minutes on the floor. Right. And how he always coaches his players. You can't allow the 10 seconds to overwhelm the rest of the minutes on the floor. And there's just so many other ways you can contribute to win. Getting a loose ball or rebounding or playing good defense. We've talked about that before. It's one of the things that makes basketball an incredible game is all the different ways that you can help your team. And so, he seems to understand that lesson and plays hard despite not shooting well, but we are definitely a better team. We probably would have put them away early if he'd have made a couple of those open looks. But the consistency is definitely not there. Hopefully it'll come.
Yeah, it's tough. Now, I would have lost this bet as well. And again, I want to make sure, because I do get pushback on, being, I guess, challenging Carmack to be a 35 to 38% 3-point shooter, because I think in order to contend for a national title, we're going to need that out of him. If you had to guess, I don't know if you've gone through the box score. The game just ended not too long ago. I'm sure you glanced at it, but this is a stat that a lot of times people gloss over, or maybe they don't pay attention to. If you had to guess who led us in plus minus today, would you have a good guess?
I might guess Jalen Withers.
Okay.
Although he didn't play that many minutes. And I have not looked at plus minus, so that is a flat out guess.
Okay. Yeah, it was Carmack Ryan, plus 13.
Okay.
Which, again, like you said, it just contributes to your point that he finds ways and the team excels when he's on the floor, and he contributes to the team's success in categories that not necessarily, I guess the overall is the plus minus. But if you're looking at the stat in the box score, you don't recognize everything that he does. And there was several plays where I was like, oh, man, Carmack Ryan switched out, got RJ off the big just because he could, kind of be a little bit more of a contest when the ball was away, and shifts, and just there was little things that he did I thought would never show up unless you watch the game. You're like, oh, wow, he was great for us there. And Harrison Ingram does a ton of those plays as well. Like, he contributes in ways that you're never going to see in the box score. And I think one of the reasons that we're able to win some of these games, especially on the road, is the little things that guys are doing that they'll never get credit for outside of the locker room. You know what I mean? No one's going to go on and interview them after the game and say, wow, like that switch in transition where you allowed Bacot to grab the trailer because he tripped and fell, and you rode the big up to the free throw line and didn't allow him to get post position, prevented a bucket. You're never going to get asked that question in a press conference, but it is essential in games that are won by 1 or 2 possessions when you get that from some of your guys. And I thought that was great. I think Ryan did an amazing job in certain spaces throughout the game, and I thought Harrison Ingram did as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, you could argue Cormac, Ingram, Withers, and Trimble are all glue guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you need glue guys to win. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, it's good. All right, biggest takeaway from the game today, because I don't know if it was recording. We jumped on here, and again, welcome to anybody that is catching us for the first time. Greatly appreciate you guys supporting us. We just do it because we love Carolina basketball. It's not even like a business venture, but yeah, biggest takeaway. I think you mentioned it was an ugly game. I don't know if that was recorded or not. I would love to get into that because those games happen.
The biggest takeaway for me is just the mental toughness to go on the road and win and
Oh yeah.
execute down the stretch when you're not playing your best and the
Mhm.
refs call 46 total fouls.
Yeah. What do you think? This is going to be very, very specific, but what do you think about Okonkwo getting more minutes than Jalen Washington? And Washington only played 4 minutes last game. Like I know that you had mentioned you didn't want to read into it too much. What about today? Like, is this a trend? Is there a shift? Do you think there's something going on in practice where if they say, oh, you know what, we're going to give Okonkwo some minutes, let's see what he does with it?
Yeah, it surprised me. It surprised me maybe more relative to Zayden High's minutes.
Yeah,
But
great
yeah, I
point.
guess maybe impacted Jalen's minutes too. Jalen just didn't look confident today when he was in. I mean, there are several times, he was open at the top, and earlier in the season, he was looking to shoot that, and he wasn't even looking at the basket. And he
Yeah,
had that like hesitant move where he stepped out of bounds on the baseline. So I think I don't know, he does not seem to be playing with as much confidence as earlier in the season. We need to get him back. But yeah, that was a bit
agreed.
surprising just because Okonkwo hasn't really seen much time.
Yeah, I would imagine outside of maybe some blowouts where we cleared the bench pretty early, and we've had a few of those. Okonkwo's not logged 8 minutes, meaningful minutes. He got 8 meaningful minutes today within the rotation, and we're mid January. I just it came out of nowhere for me. Now again, I had a chance to play college basketball, and there's certain times where guys are really clicking in practice and starting to make plays, and coaches watch practice. You record practice. They go back and they watch the tape, and eventually that bleeds into your say, hey, well, let's see, if this happens when the lights are on, and maybe that's the case. Maybe he's crushing it in practice. It just seems from a fan standpoint that only gets to see the games, it came out of left field.
I hope that's what it means, and I think that's important, for the team that you reward the people who are playing the best in practice,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought he played relatively well today. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't like they were
Yeah.
bad minutes. So
No, not at all. Definitely. Yeah. But again, we get the road win. We're 7-0 in conference play, which I'll take that. Ugly, clean, any way you can cut it, I'm taking it. Any way you slice 7-0 tastes good in my opinion. And again, some massive wins today. Syracuse takes down Miami. Right now I got it paused. I think Florida State is playing Clemson. I'd love to see Clemson, who's sitting at last time I looked 2-4. I'd love Clemson to steal that game on the road in Florida State because I think Florida State's 5-1. I think we're the only team that's beaten them, and we beat them early. So I haven't watched a ton of games. I know teams grow, teams get better. I feel like we're a much better team than we were when we played UConn. I think if we play them today, that's a different looking ball game. So I think Florida State is going to be a challenging game in Tallahassee, which is coming up for us. So I'd love to see them drop another one and have two losses in there, because we still got to go to their place, which is going to be very challenging. So what do you think about what's going on around the league, and how are you feeling about the Hills' chances moving forward for an ACC regular season title?
did you see how Syracuse won?
I did not see it. I just saw the box score, which I have it in front of me, 72-69.
Yeah, Copeland hit a buzzer beater. It was deep too. It was sweet. They went crazy. It was fun to
Really?
watch. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to
Yeah,
check
and
that
then I
out.
watched a
Cool.
little bit of the Wake Forest Louisville game.
Mhm.
Since we're playing Wake Forest next, I wanted to try to get a peek at what they're doing. They played very well and took care of Louisville pretty handily. Um, they look very
Yeah,
good on
Wake is really good.
offense.
And again, transfer portal, which is a huge thing in the NCAA now. I don't think it's going away. NIL, all of those things. Now it might get reeled back in, but as of right now, there's a lot of big names and a lot of big transfers. We talked about Sky Clark, the kid Hunter Salas there, and I think they've got another kid there that is also a transfer, first year transfer. They're really good, and there's a reason that they're winning a lot of games in conference. I'll look up what Salas was doing. I think Hunter Salas at one point in time was like one of the top 10 rated point guards in the country coming out of high school. So
yeah, I think we recruited him pretty heavily. He went to Gonzaga out of
yeah.
high school, I believe.
Yeah, I think he only played 1 year there, but very, very talented. Obviously, Gonzaga just retools. They're another powerhouse program that sometimes, like Kentucky, if you have to leave, doesn't mean you're not a good player. It's just maybe things with other recruits are working out and they're a better fit, and you just have to figure out what's best for you. So Hunter Salas, yeah, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 13 shots today, 32 minutes. So let's see what he's averaging for the year. I'm not sure what he's averaging for the year, but a very talented player. Yeah, he's averaging close to 18 points per game. So they're pretty good, and I'm trying to think what their record is in the ACC.
They're
Look,
up
yeah,
to
5
five.
and 2.
They're up to 5-2 after the win earlier today.
5 and 2. And again, NC State drops one. They dropped to 5 and 2. Florida State is playing Clemson right now. If they lose, they'll be 5 and 2. So there's ways to separate ourselves. You know, I'm not against getting a little bit of help, and I hope we get that. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I think obviously the more road wins we can get and keep banking those, it's great. I mean, I think Wake is probably the best team that we've played since Oklahoma. I mean, maybe Clemson on the road was an equally tough game, but I think they have 4 guys averaging over 14 points a game, and all 4 of those guys are shooting over 37% from 3. So just offensively, they seem very balanced. It's like it's pretty hard to key on one player. So it's going to be interesting to see how we handle that defensively. But
And
I think
we get them at home, though, right? We get them at home.
We do, yeah.
Wake Forest at Wake Forest is also a very tough venue to play in. So I think that will definitely play a factor into our game, being able to catch them at home. Also, you know, again, I want to get back to, there's some things I want to ask you about Cadeau, but I do want to make the point. Clemson being 2 and 4 is just incredibly misleading to me. They're a good basketball team. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't watch all of their games. I try to watch them, and I enjoy their team, and I think they're built really well for success. But it seems like a trend for them to come out of the gates the first half of the season, get some really big wins. I mean, I think they win at Alabama. They drop a 2-point loss to Memphis at Memphis. I mean, they are really, really good rolling. And then they get into conference play and they drop some games they should have won and end up missing the tournament. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like, they're really good.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And the ACC, in terms of getting teams in the NCAA tournament, is not in a good spot right now.
No.
I mean, obviously Carolina and Duke are looking pretty good. I think
we'll be lucky if we get 4. We'll be lucky if we get 4, because Miami's really taking themselves out of the conversation with some of these losses.
They lost again today, I think. And then
they did.
Wake, I think, was last 4 in Lenardi when I looked it up this morning. And they're, I think, 0-2 in quad 1. And so, you know, probably the only quad 1s that are going to be available to them are the Carolina and Duke games. So it's just tough. And so I think they're going to come out swinging definitely on Monday night, just because they know this is a very big game for them. They're sort of on the bubble. This would be a huge win. So we're gonna have to match that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things can change. I think once you get into the second week of February, then you start really looking at where teams are as far as their quad win. Well, I looked at ours the other day, and it was pretty good. I think we were 4-3 in quad 1, and then obviously undefeated everywhere else, which I thought was, that's pretty strong, that resume. And there's a reason they're 4 in the country. But for me, before we get back to, I want to ask you about Cadeau, because I know you love Cadeau. I love Cadeau as well, but there's some things today that I was like, okay, we're going to need to work on that, or that's going to need to evolve a little bit quicker than maybe I thought. But NC State, you think they're going to be on the bubble? They're going to be knocking on the door, because they dropped to 5 and 2. I think we get in. I think Florida State's going to be right there. I think they're going to get in. I think Duke's in, and Wake Forest is going to get in. NC State, I think, is going to be that. Does the ACC get 5 teams? Because as of right now, I think Clemson's out.
I don't think they're in today, and they lost, and then they lost at home to Virginia Tech. That's not a bad loss, but you have to win those types of games if you're going to get in. So I think that they're in trouble, and hopefully one or two of these teams has a strong stretch run, and maybe somebody makes a good run in the ACC tournament, and we get 5 teams in. But it could easily be 3 or 4, which it's just
Well,
hard to
that's
believe.
happened
Hard
before.
to believe as a lifelong ACC fan, but this could happen a couple years in a row.
Yeah, but I will say this: when we only get a few in, the teams usually perform really well. I mean, I've seen us, obviously there was one year where we had 3 teams in the Elite 8, and then we had 2 teams in the Final 4. So that was a very nice win for Carolina over Duke. But I'm just, I'm just saying we tend to, whenever they allow us to punch our dance card, our dance ticket, we get out there and boogie a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm just enjoying the fact that after the last couple of years, we're not one of those
Yeah.
teams that seems to be sweating it. So
Yeah. Again, today I watched the game, and we'll circle back a little bit. I watched the game, and I felt like, all right, we're gonna figure out a way to win this. And I know that ugly games happen. I know that off games happen, and when you can find ways, I made a note of it. I'm gonna pull up my notes. I made a note of it that the plus side for me was when we are not comfortable, because teams are going to make you uncomfortable, or when our bread and butter isn't necessarily coming through for us, being able to find different ways. You talked about Cormac Ryan being able to find ways to contribute when his shooting's not there. When the team finds ways to win, when it's not necessarily all the shots aren't dropping and things aren't coming easy for us, or we're in foul trouble and we're having to use a different rotation, but you still win by 10, like that's incredible.
yeah, I agree. You're asking about Cadeau, so
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into it. What do you, well, I was going to let you
so
jump in first and then ask you some questions about him.
well. I mean, my view of Cadeau's game today is it seemed like in the first half he smelled blood in the water, and he felt like his guy couldn't stay in front of him, and he was aggressive and was getting in the lane,
Yeah.
more aggressive than he's been, I think, most of the season. He ended up with 8 and 5.
Mhm.
He ended the first half with that beautiful move where he sort of went in and out and
Yeah.
shook the guy and then
Yeah.
threw it up.
Yeah.
For the dunk. And then our first score of the second half, he had that beautiful sort of drop pass in the secondary break,
Mhm.
and left it for RJ to hit the three. Like he
Yeah.
continues to have these moments and these spurts
Yeah.
where it's easy to get very excited about his game.
Yeah.
However, the jump shooting, yeah, it's just not good.
No.
And so, if he could make some of those, even the mid range, it makes him a step quicker, and it's going to continue to open up the lane for him because his drive and his quickness is there. But good defenders, if you're not going to make any jump shots, are going to continue to take that away and sort of sag off. And so,
Yeah.
um, I'm glad that he's taking those. I'm glad that he's looking to score and is aggressive offensively. It'd be great
Mhm.
if a few more would start to go in. But he definitely was feeling himself today, especially in the first half. I thought, in terms
Yeah.
of getting in the lane and attacking his guy. Um, and then defensively, I felt like they're calling so many touch fouls. It sort of took him out of his rhythm a little bit in
Yeah.
the second half.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, he's down. He unfortunately has dropped now to 21% from 3, and that's challenging. And for someone with an incredible high side, like the ceiling, he's so good. And even if he shot 0% from 3, I would want him on the floor. He's just that good. So the upside is if he does happen to figure that out and start to grow, and I think he will, just as all of us, the more you do something, the better you get at it for the most part. I think he's going to be an incredibly special player. But it just seemed like today, I want to reiterate what you said. It seemed not by design, but I feel like he figured out very early, oh, all right, I can put my fingerprint on this game. And he was very, very aggressive, where I haven't really seen him take the lead so early like that. And I thought it was a good thing. I felt like today was a wonderful day. Like, okay, this is a team that we should handle business. And for him, even though he didn't shoot it well, I thought there was some growth, and I thought he got better as a player. And I felt like we got better as a team with him kind of being aggressive in those moments.
Yeah, I agree. And sort of along those same lines, it was nice to see Withers and Trimble both come in and hit threes. If they came in after that first TV timeout, that first 4 minutes of the game, we couldn't make anything, couldn't throw it in the ocean. I think Cormac missed 2 or 3 open threes.
He did.
And yeah, the game started as maybe all of us feared it would, just very sluggish,
Yeah.
and then those guys coming in and making some shots, I think gave us a jolt, and then from there I started feeling better about things. So I thought that was a big 4 minutes from both of those guys just in the game flow.
Yeah, again, I've been a guy that's been harping on we need Withers to, to be a very solid to good contributor off the bench to kind of fulfill our potential as a team. And one of the things that I was shocked at, and I had to kind of check myself of like, okay, this kid's really good. He's really important and he's really versatile for the things that we need from him. He only played 14 minutes a day, and I felt like he played so much more. I felt like his impact was felt far beyond 14 minutes. Like I would have said he played 25 minutes. When he was in, I feel like he was mixing it up and he was involved with everything.
Agreed. I think he picked up 2 very quick fouls in the first half, and so he sat most of the first half, so he didn't get as many minutes as I would have liked to have seen. But I thought he carried it over pretty well from the Louisville game.
Yeah.
And you can see it with him. I mean, it feels like he's found himself, and hopefully this is what we're going to get for the rest of the season, because it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was the very first possession, but I believe it was where he clocks in and then gets it mid post, faces up, and is aggressive. And again, when you're coming off the bench, and I've done this several years, I didn't start. It's hard to come off the bench in the first possession. It gets swung to you, and you're in a position where, oh well, if I was warmer, I'll definitely pull this. He just lifted up, shot it. It was good. It didn't, wasn't surprising. So I felt like that was a big shot. And then I was like, well, that's a confidence booster. I mean, he's cold off the bench and knocking one down already. And in 14 minutes, stat line's 9, 3, and 1, and 9 points on 4 shots. Just incredibly efficient. And yeah, he's doing a ton. And I couldn't be happier with what the guy's bringing to the team right now. So want to give flowers to Mr. Jalen Withers. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it was nice to get a win when RJ wasn't his most efficient. I mean, he still had 16, and then Bacot, his final line 10-9 or not, 10-9 doesn't look that bad, but I think pretty late in the game he had 3 points.
He didn't score in the first half. 0 points in the first half.
It's just so hard, when they're calling fouls on everything, and so we had a lot of guys sitting, and then I think it's probably hard to come back in and get your rhythm later in the game. So I think that it's probably had more to do with the foul trouble than anything else. But, in a game when our 2 stars didn't necessarily have, either of them didn't really have their better game, it's nice to see the rest of the team, step up and contribute the way they did. Like to call it Harrison Ingram for another double-digit rebounds, 13. I mean, he's posting some incredible rebound numbers.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say rebounding is all about will and mentality and effort. So, I mean, the numbers that he's putting up, and again, I wanted to ask you when you were at the game, I don't think I asked you this the other day. He looks so strong and solid watching on television. Like when he's backing guys down, he's gotten a few offensive fouls because I just think the resistance there, it's easy. You pull the chair and it looks worse than it probably is, but he just looks strong as an ox. Like he's just concrete in there. What was it like in person?
He looks that way in person too.
Yeah.
It's upper and lower body too. I mean, he's very strong base as well.
Yeah. Hit a big 3 today. What, you're talking about how strong he is and his rebounds, but he's another guy that definitely can get hot from 3. And he's had several games where he had big 3s, and today was no different. I can't remember the minute mark it was, but I think he puts us from 4 to 7 with like 4.5 or 5 minutes left. It's just like massive shots that people look at the box score and they're like, oh, well, he had 11 points. 3 of those were huge,
Yeah. And defensively, we had another team shoot under 20% from 3. So they shot 3 of 17. So Louisville shot well. They shot over 44%, I think. But going back beyond, before that game, we're sort of back to the trend of people can't throw it in the ocean against us. I mean, other than their 25 points from the free throw line, right? They shot 34% from the field and 17% from 3. So pretty good, again, defensive effort, I think, from the team, other than, you say we fouled too much, but I'm not sure that we actually did.
Yeah.
They were called. Yeah. I looked it up, by the way. So that the
yeah.
AC in the ACC, The average number of fouls per game is 31. And so there are 46 in this game, which is 48% more. But that's incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And by the way, like, they showed the replay on some of those fouls, and people weren't within a foot or two of them. I mean, there's the one where Cadeau, the guy actually sort of pushed off of Cadeau, and then he did like a step back. And I think Cadeau was within 2 feet of him, and they called a foul. I mean, and by the way, again, I think they had some terrible calls go against BC as well. I just think I don't know. That was some poor officiating.
Yeah, I saw one. I made a note of it. I can't find it because I was going to give you the minute mark where Seth Trimble, I always talk about how he sits down in a chair and he's pressuring the ball. It was out front, so there was no traffic. There's a clear line of sight for any referee that's watching it. And he gets hooked, plain as day. And it's a foul on Trimble. And I was like, okay, well, you're on the road. There's a little bit of home cooking, or the refs are getting involved with the crowd's going crazy. And I just felt like, okay, you find a way to play through those things. We definitely had some calls that I thought could have gone other ways, and we won't harp on the refs. The one thing I will say, and I cannot remember us doing this, and I want to give flowers to two people, RJ Davis and Hubert Davis right now. RJ Davis, there was a few times where he gets caught on a switch and he's down low, and they get the ball to him. He hasn't been able to fight around, and sometimes you just get caught in a bad spot where the guy has a clear advantage. He's going to go up and lay it in. RJ takes a hard foul, make sure he does not get it. Like intentionally, all right, I'm going to take a hard foul, make him earn it from the free throw line. In years past, I feel like we've conceded buckets over giving fouls or like making guys earn it. And the first thing I thought of was you saying defense has never been something that in recent memory we count on as an asset to us winning games. And today I felt like that was a very small, one play, but it just meant mentality wise, like I'm not giving up a bucket. I'm going to make you earn them from the line. I'm not going to give you 2 and then try to earn it back on offense. I'm going to take the hard foul and make sure you don't get it up, and I make you make 2 free throws. And so I thought that was really cool. And then the last thing I wanted to say, Hubert Davis, I thought did an incredible job today. The rotation was different. I don't know what goes into that. We went on the road. There's hard to argue with his choices in the rotation. But there was one play where I've always worried, are we able to get RJ Davis good looks in a half court set? And there was a rub screen double pin down for RJ, and he missed the shot, but he got a clean look, feet set. And it just seems as if we're running some sets in specific moments in time in games where we need good looks and we need a bucket. And Hubert is really drawing up some cool stuff. And now I'm hoping some of that is, his time in the pros, because a lot of that is, okay, specific scores, get the ball in specific places. And RJ Davis is one of those guys on our team where if we need a bucket down the road, I want us to be able to draw up something to get him a good look.
Yeah, I think I forgot to mention it on the last show when we were talking about Louisville, but I made a note that every single time we came out of a dead ball, we got a great look. And I think we scored in the second half. I need to go back and watch the game and check it. But I think we scored every time after a dead ball. And the reason I noticed it is because they kept running an action right where we were sitting. So it's happening right in front of us. But the first time they kept running sort of like a weak side pin down where Bacot would go and down screen for that wing, and the wing would come around and curl, and they'd have sort of a 2-man action with Bacot up top. And they ran I think 3 or 4 different variations of it. The first time Bacot just slipped it. Mm-hmm. And then he sort of curled around, and then they dumped it down and he got a dunk. Another time, he sort of curled around, and then I think they switched it, and then Bacot had a smaller guy on him, and I think he may even got an and one, but he scored. And another time, I think they either made a 3 or they sort of did a curl and drove. But they're running very similar actions, but variations off of those actions and getting great looks. And I think you've mentioned this before, that Hubert seems to be coaching.
I love it.
Yeah, very well on these dead balls, and it's definitely showing up in terms of being able to get good looks for people.
Yeah, in years past, I've gone crazy pulling my hair out and again, maybe it was players. I don't want to say anything negative about any players that are not there anymore, but coming out of a timeout or coming out of a dead ball situation where we need something, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be greedy. If we don't make the shot, people miss shots all the time. I miss more shots than most people on the planet. But getting good looks, I just need a good look. And I felt like last year we would get things out of timeouts where I'm like, that's what we draw up, or that's what we get going into half, or that's what we get with, the execution down the stretch. It doesn't seem to be that way this year. Now you're not going to make all of them, but I feel like we're getting good looks and things that we want are there for us, and we're putting ourselves in a very, very good position to be successful. And nothing is 100%, nothing 0%. But if you can put yourself in a position where you're getting 70%, 75% of what you want, that's great, and it translates into wins. And I just want to give Hubert Davis all the credit in the world. I want to make sure that I'm not too critical. One, who am I? But two, just to point out that it seems like he's doing a great job, and it's really, really cool and fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree, and the team's getting better, and it's improving in the things that uh, were deficient early in the season. Um,
Mhm.
I think we're up to now like number 7 in total rebounds per game. When we started doing this after the Kentucky game, we're coming off of several games where we were out rebounded by 10 plus, and we were saying, hey, if we're going to do anything this year, we have to improve that. And now
Yeah.
that's a strength. And I think every game since
Mhm.
then, we've like been out rebounding teams by like plus 10.
Mhm.
We're up to number 23, I think, in opponents' effective field goal percentage. Again, when we first started doing this, we were saying, oh man, if we don't tighten up on defense, there's no way this team's gonna go
Right.
anywhere. So,
Yeah.
to obviously he saw those things too. He's a lot smarter than we are.
Yeah.
But seeing it is the easy part. The hard part is getting the team to address those weaknesses, and he's doing that, and the team's improving, and obviously that's a great, sign of great coaching. I think the other thing, I think we're I looked up trying to figure out like how are we different this year than last year, and I was looking at a few things. So I was looking at tempo this morning. Last year,
Mhm.
I think we were 99th in adjusted tempo in
Yeah.
Ken Pond. I think this year we're up to 48th, which is great. And I think some of that's Cadeau. I think some of that is Hubert too, is getting the guys to play a bit faster.
Mhm.
And I think that's helping us score more easily. So I just echo what you're saying. I think he's doing an incredible job. Not just because we're winning, but you can see the improvement. I think the other knock on Hubert probably after the first couple of years was, do we develop the bench, and do the bench players have a pretty clear role? And that's
Mhm.
also happening this year. And so I think for all those reasons, he's doing an incredible coaching job.
Yeah, I just need Washington. I was greedy early and wanted Withers to kind of carve his out and have his role to be concrete. And I think it's 10 to 15 minutes a game, if not more, when we need him. And he knows exactly what he's supposed to do. And it seems like he's executing that incredibly well. I'm not sure Washington understands his role. Definitely not as well as Withers, but I don't know if he's kind of found his comfort zone of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what it's expected of me. This is where I can flourish. Here are some things that I can do really, really well to help the team in these spaces. I think he's still trying to get. I could be way off base, but I feel like he's still trying to figure out how he can contribute and how he can personally be successful within the ecosystem of the team. You know what I mean? And I don't think one of the things I love about this team is I don't feel like we have one selfish player on the team. It's incredible. I feel like everybody loves the team. Everybody wants to contribute. And obviously, we're all human beings. They all want to be successful and knock down shots and do things that, say, oh, okay, cool. My game is starting to show. But I think they all want to do it with the intent of putting the team first. And I'm going to do what I do best to help the team within, the system that we have put in place.
Yeah, Hubert said that he's our best post defender, and so clearly coming in with the second team, if he can, lock that down and rebound. Just on the
Yeah,
offensive end, I'd like to see more confidence and aggressiveness. I mean, again,
sure.
he's
And
too
he's
good of a
very
shooter. If they're
skilled.
going to slough
He's
off of him,
yeah,
take it,
yeah,
shoot it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, so we got Wake Forest at home. So 4 o'clock. Well, I guess it's a 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tip off. 4 o'clock for me. Got anything you want to add for that game before we cut out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your weekend?
No, I think it's going to be a good test. I think they're going to be desperate for a quad one win, and I think they're going to come in firing.
Yep.
They're a very good offensive team. Um, and pretty well balanced. I think and Ken Palm, they're 30 on offense, 60 on D. Like I said, they've got 4 guys, averaging over 14. 4 guys can shoot the ball well. So I think it's going to be a good test. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, brother. Until then, Tar
Heels.
All right, man.